I think just maybe the question that I want to ask them, it's from the experience they've had up to so far, and when they look at the profession, you know, civil engineering is very broad. What is the level of integration that they think actually lacks in our industry? It's very wide. You can be a structural engineer and you know nothing about water. You can be a road guys, you know, you will know a bit, but you might never know much about the other field. But in their view, when they look from the aerial view, what level of integration, especially for the young graduates, do they think it's critical in the days we're going? Because you realize that being traditional now is no longer a norm. You have to be innovative, which means civil. If you're a water guy, you need to know beyond that. If you're structures, you need to know beyond that. What level of integration do they think needs to be adopted? Is it a teaching method? Is it the training method? That's just the question. It's enough for students to understand this one. Young techs.
Um, okay, so, well, I think for me, it's a bit unfair of me to answer, because, like I always say that you're in charge of your own development, right? So as part of that, I've always been fighting to actually integrate the different spheres of civil engineering. Even when I was when I started in a water loss management project by Etukwini Municipality. So from there, I got into roads, and then bulk pipelines, and a little bit of stormwater, and now structures. So that's why I'm saying it's a bit unfair for me to answer the question, because I've actually maneuvered a little bit, you know, because I really wanted to be a well-rounded engineer, to be able to have my 2 cents, to be able to give my 2 cents where I can, you know. So I don't think anyone can pull the wool over my eyes in anything. That's what I don't want anyway. I'm not saying that I know everything of all of them, but I think I know enough to not be fooled, and that's what I wanted to do. But I think more on that. I like how Risimate he touched on governance. Um, I think that's one thing that's really lacking in terms of our education as engineers. We're not taught enough about governance and about uh, there's a better word for it. I want to say corruption, but there's a better word for it. But then just ethics, yeah, like how to be an ethical engineer, you know, and how to be, because honestly, our type of engineering, civil engineering, I think is the most social type of engineering, you know. So there's a lot of ethics involved, you know, in our engineering, you know, but we don't talk about it enough, you know, because we're all about the technical bottom line, you know, and we don't think about the end user, you know, how is this actually going to affect the end user? I remember when I was doing when I was on the water loss management project, it was in informal settlement. So when I was going to site, I was going to interact with the end user, you know, so I was able to be able to form that narrative, like what I'm doing in the office, how directly affects the people I'm providing the service for. And I think that's the aspect that we need to put into place, because that will force people to actually do their jobs really well instead of trying to cut corners. Because we know that civil engineering is, I can say, it's the most corrupt engineering that I've noticed. You know, I mean, anyone can come in and say, "Hey, I can build a road," you know, and anyone can come in, tenders and all of those things, you know, and it really reduces the dignity of our profession, you know. So I think, yeah, that's the kind of education we need to get in there, you know, from an early grassroots level. Yeah, yeah, that's it for me.
Thank you. Lebo? Oh, you put us on mute there by mistake. Mulebore?
Take this call quickly. For me, the level of integration that I've experienced as on my way to becoming an engineering technician is very helpful, because you have to touch on a lot of aspects and industries, and so working for government, there's programs that actually help us and guide us into achieving and becoming technicians. So I would say it's very important, and I've enjoyed it so far, because I've actually as busy being part of the roads maintenance, you end up being able to design for roads, and then you start growing, and then after designing you learn about stormwater, and then you start learning from there. So I believe that the integration is needed, especially now, because there's work coming out which requires structural design to do schools and stuff. So it's going to be a much needed learning experience, and I really appreciate it that much. And then in terms of being integrated, maybe in the school level, I would definitely say it would not, I think it's already there, because we cover a lot when you're studying. So the problem would probably have to come in, or the solution will have to come in when you first start out in the industry, so that you have a basic foundation and a practical foundation of each and every aspect, so that you can pick the path that you really want and know what you really want to pick. So the integration part could really be helpful when you first doing your practical experience, because that's where you really need the integration, so that you can factor in a lot of information as quickly as possible. Thank you.